So the season is off to a start, the football season, and I'm thinking dark horses, like unexpected stuff that could happen that could really make this season very interesting. Like you would have been a popular person if you predicted, the kind of things that would happen in last season. What comes to mind now? I'm thinking Barcelona Inter. That match was amazing, amazing match. Lamine Yamal really good, and it's really difficult, as a Real Madrid fan, to say Lamine Yamal is cooking. I'm getting Messi vibes. I don't want to go that far and say Messi, but yeah, I'm really getting that vibe from Lamine Yamal, and it's really kind of um, PTSD ish. We literally just got back from dealing with Messi, and it looks like we've gotten another player that is going to be following his footsteps. And yeah, it's really it's really frustrating to see as a Real Madrid fan. But yeah, last season a lot of unexpected stuff. With Spurs winning a trophy, over Manchester United. You would think Spurs would get to a final and bottle it. I mean, even the Arsenal Real Madrid game, it was kind of unexpected. Declan Rice scoring two free kicks back to back, really good free kicks. So I think last season was very good, mainly because of the unexpected nature of it. There was a whole lot of unexpected stuff happening. So I think, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give my own prediction on some of the unexpected stuff that I kind of think is gonna happen this season in the football world. And yeah, well, maybe we'll come back to this at the end of the season and see if we, we made some good predictions. I'm sure some of these predictions are gonna be atrocious. They're gonna be absolutely atrocious. So, I mean, where am I gonna start? Where do I start off? I'm thinking Tottenham and Chelsea, two London clubs that I think one of them, Chelsea in that regard has gotten a little bit more, silverware success. And I think Tottenham as well with the Europa League, but I think Chelsea's one was more recent with the Club World Cup. But I mean, Tottenham winning the Europa League as well, a very big achievement for them, for a team that hasn't won a trophy in a very long time. But I'm looking at Chelsea and the players they've brought in. Joao Pedro, really like what I saw from him in the Club World Cup. I mean, if they could get a Garnacho into that team with the squad depth that they have, I think Chelsea could go on and win another important trophy. I'm thinking maybe Champions League. I mean, it's very big to say Chelsea will win the Champions League, but I do think they have that experience and that unpredictability that they used to win the Champions League the last time with Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. That setup. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking Chelsea for Champions League. That's my dark horse prediction. I think Chelsea for Champions League is very doable, and I think Spurs for another trophy. I don't know what trophy they're gonna win, but there's a lot up for grabs. There's a Champions League there, Premier League is there, Carabao Cup is there, FA Cup is there. So they've got a decent amount of trophies to go for this season. So I do think with Thomas Frank coming in, the type of football he plays is really suited to cup competitions. The type of disciplinary type of football. Not necessarily defensive, more pragmatic type of football where they can kind of go deep into cup runs if they can, be disciplined, keep a lead when they do have that lead, 1-0 lead, 2-0 lead, not going gun ho, that kind of thing. With um, I mean, that's kind of how Ange Postecoglou won the Europa League final against Manchester United. He got that one goal, and even before he got that one goal, you could see him, not playing as gung ho as he used to when he's playing with Spurs in the Premier League with that really high line. He was really bringing the line back a little bit. So I think with I forget the Brentford manager's name. Thomas Frank. Yeah, with Thomas Frank coming in, I think that type of football could really take Spurs, far in a cup competition. So I'm saying Spurs to win a trophy, and I'm saying Chelsea to win the Champions League. So that's my first really big. I'm like, I thinking back at this, it's probably going to be very atrocious. Spurs are probably going to go trophyless, and Chelsea probably get knocked out of the league phase in the Champions League. But hey, it's a prediction nonetheless. Another, prediction I have, as we're staying in the Premier League, is Matheus Cunha at Manchester United. I watched the United Arsenal game. I watched highlights of the United Arsenal game, and he looked brilliant. I mean, Cunha from Wolves. We've seen a lot of Wolves player. Diego Jota, rest his soul. Pedro Neto. We've seen a good number of Wolves players leave Wolves and go to big teams and turn out to be absolutely brilliant. And I think Matheus Cunha is going to be one of those players. He was outstanding. It's kind of a stretch to say man of the match, but he was really good. And I think if he could get the players around him to settle. My problem with Cunha would be, the problem Cunha would face in Manchester United would be the players around him. I don't think the players in Manchester United that are surrounding Cunha, players like Manuel Ugarte, maybe a Bruno Fernandes to a certain extent, some of the defensive players and the goalkeepers. I think that might be what will pull Cunha down. But I think if he can get the players around him to perform consistently well or consistently on his level, I think Matheus Cunha could be a spark for Manchester United. I don't know how much of a spark it's going to be. It'll be a stretch to say United win a trophy. I mean, from the atrocities they played last season. I mean, Manchester United were horrible last season. So to go from that to winning a trophy would be, it would be impressive. It would be impressive. But I think with the lack of European football, the minimum amount of games they're going to have to play, the amount of time they're going to get on the training ground, I think Cunha is going to be really, effective in a Manchester United team. Most of the time when players move from small clubs to big clubs, the problem you have is adapting to maybe not being in the Champions League or not being in any European competition before, and adapting to switching from playing the intensity of the Premier League to playing the intensity, in Europe. They are two different intensities. That's why you see players like Casemiro doing well in the Europa League for Manchester United last season, and then you see him not doing that well in the Premier League because of the, intensity. So I think for Cunha, the fact that he's still going to be playing Premier League football majority of the time at Manchester United, I do think that will help him in terms of development and also in terms of putting in really good performances. So yeah, my second prediction, dark horse prediction, is I think Matheus Cunha might be signing of the season and gonna be a star player for Manchester United this coming season. I think that one is a little bit tame, not that much. Nothing crazy going on there. I think the next one as it's in my mind now, that I think the next one is going to be really crazy. Still in the Premier League again, I think one of the promoted teams will survive. I think, yeah, I'm looking at, I don't want to be specific because I don't watch the championship as much as I watch the Premier League. So I can't really say much about the promoted teams. But I think this season's batch of promoted teams are a bit different from what we've normally seen. Normally we see teams get promoted to the Premier League that haven't necessarily played in the Premier League before, like Ipswich. Last season it was Ipswich, Southampton, and who else got promoted last season? Ipswich, Southampton, and I literally forget. I mean, they must have been really bad if I'm forgetting them this easily. I don't think it was Burnley. I think it was Ipswich. I'm literally gonna forget that. But someone remind me in the comment section. But yeah, last season the teams that got promoted were not necessarily the best when it came to their standing in the Premier League. Like Leeds have had good standings in the Premier League. They've gotten promoted in the Premier League. They've stayed for a while, and then they got relegated. I think Burnley as well. I think Sunderland are the only ones who have not necessarily been in the Premier League for the longest of times. So I do think, from what I'm seeing, Sunderland have made some really good signings, and I think Leeds might have that experience. I don't know how many of their players in that team, were part of the team that were in the Premier League before they got relegated. But I'm thinking Sunderland and Leeds. I don't know about Burnley. I don't know how Burnley, system is going. I think ever since Company left, and even when Company was there, it was a little bit shaky. But I'm looking at Leeds and Sunderland. I think one of them is going to stay up. I think this is going to be the season where we see a promoted team like Brentford and Fulham the time they got promoted. I think this is the season we're going to see one of those promoted teams stay in the Premier League, and we're going to see an actual Premier League side get relegated to the Championship. And I think, yeah, can't really pinpoint on what I think it's going to be, but that's my prediction for who I think, what I think about the teams that got promoted this season in the Premier League. Up next on my list, we're going to go through this and then one more, and then maybe I'll just wrap it up because I do have a whole lot of dark horses, suggestions, but I just want to go through like 5, and then I think we'll be good. The next, dark horse prediction or unexpected thing I think is going to happen is, this is kind of a little bit more obvious, but Arthur Goulart at Manchester United. Arthur Goulart at Real Madrid. They wish they had Arthur Goulart at Manchester United. But yeah, Arthur Goulart at Real Madrid. I am looking at him and I'm thinking Wirtz. I look at Arthur Goulart in Xabi Alonso's system and I think Florian Wirtz. If he can replicate even a quarter of what Florian Wirtz was doing at Leverkusen, I think we're going to have a really special player on our hands next season. And I say our because I am a Real Madrid fan. So I'm looking at Arda Güler and watching him in that Osasuna game. Although he didn't make too much of an impact, you could see the potential, when he does settle into that role of what Xabi Alonso wants him to do. And, looking at, him even last 2 seasons when Ancelotti was here, the little limited chances he did get, you could see sparks of brilliance from the Turkish player. So I think Arda Güler coming into the spotlight this season is definitely on my list. I think he's a player that has been hungry to start, to get into that Madrid starting 11. And I think now that he's given that opportunity by Xabi Alonso, I think he's going to be taking that opportunity. He's going to be doing bits. And you're going to see, the impact of Arda Güler in this team. My issue would be when Bellingham comes back. Like, if Bellingham is back, is he going to be replacing Arda Güler? And is Güler going to be going to the bench? To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing Bellingham in Vinicius Jr.'s position. To be very honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing the Jude Bellingham in that position, occupying where Vinicius is, to be very honest with you. But we're going to see what Alonso is going to do in that regard. And finally, I think this is a more interesting out of the predictions I have so far. I think this is probably going to be the more interesting. I think Napoli are going to do something this season. I don't know if you're going to win another trophy. I don't know if Antonio Conte has that in him to win another trophy this season, but I think they're going to be impressive. I think they're going to push, really, really hard. I'm thinking maybe a Champions League semi-final or a Champions League final. A Chelsea-Napoli Champions League final wouldn't be bad. It would be very unexpected, though. And I think Antonio Conte could do that. Looking at what they did last season, I think... I don't know what it is with Manchester United and the type of players. I said this in my last video, the match reaction to the Madrid-Osasuna game. Alvaro Carreras was a Manchester United just 2 years ago, I believe. 2 years ago, he was a Manchester United player, and now he's a starting left back for Real Madrid. Scott McTominay, 2 years ago, was a player, he was a CDM, basically, in Manchester United, not being given the praise that he deserved, winning a lot of games for them, and went to Serie A, 1 season, MVP, best player in the league, won the Scudetto with Napoli. So I'm looking at that, and I think if Antonio Conte can get that performance again, if he can get a similar or even better season like that again from McTominay and the new signings coming in, De Bruyne going there is really big. I'm hearing rumors of Rasmus Højlund going there, I think that could be massive for Antonio Conte. If he can get these people clicking, I can see Napoli pushing hard in the Champions League, probably going for another Scudetto in the Serie A, the Serie A, the Coppa Italia. I can see them going far for these competitions, and it would be impressive and unexpected again. And I think it would, make people start noticing Antonio Conte more. I think Conte he's a very underrated manager. I mean, going to Napoli, winning the Scudetto, losing Varaskelia, Osimhen. These are the two players that when Napoli won the Scudetto last time, these two players were the key players. So to lose these two players and still, get that performance from players that are not on that level. I mean, Varaskelia went on to win the Champions League with PSG. That's how good he is, you know. And Osimhen, went to Galatasaray, did pretty well, and he's a top striker regardless. But yeah, that's the quality of players he lost, and still ended up, getting the performance he got from these players. So I think if he can replicate that this coming season, it would be, I think Napoli could go far. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for my predictions. I'm trying to think of like a honorable mention in terms of something special, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing a whole lot. I mean, if I had to take a guess, I'd say maybe Liverpool don't perform as well as people are expecting them to perform based on the signings. But I think that's kind of a little bit obvious because most times when people do win the transfer window, they don't necessarily, perform well. So yeah, I don't know if that's, kind of an unexpected prediction. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know your predictions in the comment sections and what unexpected things you think will be happening. And yeah, your feedback is always appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next one.